Good day to you once again. My name is Malcolm McPherson. I'm an evangelist from Scotland. I've been sharing the last couple of programmes just a little bit of my journey of faith, how we came to be where we are. I gave my first broadcast, talked about how I became a Christian in 1987, and then I touched a little bit upon how we ended up into the evangelistic ministry, which took us into the former Soviet Union. I was a missionary there with my wife Roseanne from 1990 up until 2001, and it was in 2000 we planted a church in our hometown. I'd taken on the training with the Assemblies of God denomination. I was ordained with them in 2002, but we were already in their whole system of training, and our church was developing and growing. I'm an evangelist, so we had committed to spend 12 months as pastor of the local church here in Gatehouse of Fleet. It was called the Gatehouse Christian Fellowship at that time, now known as the Gatehouse Community Church. And 12 months morphed into 12 years, and so I had 11 years as a missionary into Russia, then 12 years as a full-time pastor. But I also worked, we had a rehab centre which for about 5 or 6 years was connected to the fellowship. I worked there part-time a couple of times a week. I was a support worker. I taught. It was a Christian ran place, so I helped these young men who were struggling with addictions to alcohol and to drug addiction, and helped them in their relationship with God, either come into faith, or if they come to faith already, to grow in their faith, deal with the issues of their life. And it was a wonderful time. Challenging. It's always challenging working with any people, but especially those who've really struggled with addictions. And so in the midst of all that, I was still doing a few missions. We did a couple of missions to Sri Lanka. I took 18 in my church in 2007, I think it was. 18 of my own church fellowship I took over to Russia. And so continued to develop that heart for evangelism. I'm not a pastor, I am an evangelist, but I'm very, very grateful to God for giving me that 12 years as a local pastor here, because I began to understand the workings of local ministry, of pastoral ministry. I still am actually on the chaplaincy team of the academy in Kukubri. I'm also kind of still there in the background with regards to some of the care homes, although my successor as pastor of the Gatehouse Fellowship, now Community Church, really does that, but I can still go into these places and still have a sort of pastoral chaplaincy role. So I understand a little bit of the background of local church ministry, and I'm grateful to God for that, because now I travel throughout Scotland. In the year 2011, my sister went home to be with the Lord after a brave battle with cancer. And in 2012, I left my church. I didn't leave it. I handed it over to my successor, who was my assistant pastor, and he is still a pastor, doing a great job pastoring the church there. And my wife and I then stepped out into what we do now, which is basically I crisscross Scotland, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, working with local churches, encouraging the body. I'm an evangelist. I love sharing the gospel, and we've had experience from crusades and big events to one-to-one, to doing training, to doing events, all that kind of thing. We've had a broad spectrum of experience with that. And so my remit, my heart, is to help local churches to encourage their own people, their own congregation. I can maybe reach so many thousand people in a year, but when we are out there and training and encouraging local church congregations, and we multiply ourselves, because I believe that every person is called to be a witness for Jesus. Every person is called to share their faith. Every person is called to see signs and wonders and to lead people to Christ. And so that's partly what we do, is to train and to teach and to encourage and to model, to actually work alongside churches, go out in the streets, all kinds of different methods. The methods change depending on the different areas. So we've been doing that for the last 4 or 5 years. I seem to work, especially in the Highlands of Scotland. God has granted me great favour up there, which I'm very grateful for. kind of taken back to my roots a little bit, but also the West and over in the East, and God is broadening those horizons. So that's a little bit more development of who we are and what we are doing, and maybe next time I'll bring it more really up to date as to where we are right now and what our heart is for our nation of Scotland and the United Kingdom, and indeed further afield into Europe. So the Lord bless you and keep you and strengthen you, and may He continue to just give you fire in your heart, fire in your very soul, fire in your belly to reach the lost and to share Jesus. God bless you.